Hi, Jen. I am
Oh,
so happy to have you here today.
I am so happy to be here.
So, Jen has been a client of mine for a while, and she is being so kind to have a discussion with me so that I can share with all of you, you viewing this, what I do, because it's very hard to describe. And Jen has been with me the longest as far as many sessions. So we counted it up and it's been 30 or more than 30. I think it was a couple more than 30, which is awesome in the span of like, I don't know, 8 months or something like that. Yeah. So I have your chart with me here because I thought it would be fun to like pull out some things.
Good. Go back down by memory lane.
Yes. But I wanted to, so let's talk about first off how you found me, because it was interesting, a little bit unusual way to find me.
Yeah. So I am a runner, long distance runner, and I had been having a whole lot of just recurring running injuries and did the loop of, physical therapists, regular doctors, chiropractor, massage, all of it. And it wasn't helping any of my issues. And so my husband had been reading about what Gary Ward does, and he focuses, and Shannon, you can talk more about it to fill in everybody, but he focuses basically on feet and how, your feet and, lack of mobility or lack of strength or whatever can impact stuff going up the kinetic chain. And so he thought, well, maybe someone who studies under Gary Ward would be able to help me with my running injuries. And so he did a search and found Shannon online and went to her website and signed me up for the initial, I think it was a 2 or 3 hour initial consultation. So that I was just coming and going, finally, all right, someone who can, maybe it's my feet. Maybe I didn't address my feet, and that's why I'm still having these recurring running injuries.
And then you came, and I'm so curious what you thought maybe after that initial 3-hour assessment.
Well, so a couple things. And so the thing that I remember the most, which was so neat, and I don't even think that we've talked about this, is you do the assessment. So it's a full body assessment to kind of see, where maybe some imbalances are or what I'm going through. And you did all the measurements and looked it up from the front, the side, the back, and looked at my chart. And then you got into the sort of position that you felt that I was in through my measurements. So you're like, oh, you're looking at your chart going, okay, I can see your head's like this and your shoulders are like this. And, it's not totally out, but you were becoming the part of, because I'm not, I can function, I can run. I'm having injury. Something was not stacked right or balanced right. And you were the first person to put yourself in my shoes to understand what I was going through. And once you got into that position, you said things that kind of mimicked what I told you. Like, I can see how this is bothering you. I can see how your hip feels out because of the way that you got into that position. So I was like, wow, I have never worked with someone that took such an immersive approach to learning about me and what I was going through.
Oh, awesome.
And of course,
awesome.
That's just the beginning. And then
right. And I think what is so interesting about our work, especially together, is that you came in really expecting it to be more of the body work and changing the way you move through posture and gait cycle and all of that. And in the end, you found that you liked the other portions that we did better. Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, definitely. Well, what's interesting is, so after my husband had found you and your website, I was looking through all your services and certifications, which you've got a million of, and one of them was EFT tapping. And EFT tapping was something that I was interested in, but it was sort of something I'm like, oh, I don't really know what it is. And I've always wanted to go to someone, but not go and pursue someone, but she does that. So maybe I'll ask her about that in one of my sessions. And then in our first session, we happened to be talking about something that happened to my daughter early on when she was really little. And as I was telling you the story, it's, even though it was, at this point, 13 years ago, it was still really vivid in my mind. And you said, hold up. You said, I can't let you tell the story without taking away some of the pain for you. Here, do this. And then you took me through a quick tapping to help release the emotions around that experience. And it was the first time after that, I was like, that's cool. I didn't expect us to do it, in my session working on my injuries, because it seemed so different at the time. And what I came to find out is that is a big part of it, is the emotions around everything, around how you carry your body, how you think, how you move, how you react.
Everything. It's everything. And I would like to point that out, because it's interesting that you thought to yourself that would be a different session, because that's how we're trained nowadays. You when you go to the doctor, and if it's for your knee, you go to the knee doctor, or if it's for your foot, you're going to go to the podiatrist. But if you go into that podiatrist and you say, but I also have this shoulder issue, and they're going to be like, I go to the shoulder guy, or they're going to say, I can't address both in this session, you're going to have to come back for a different session.
Yeah. And the mindset around it, they would very much go, I'm not the shoulder guy, I'm the whatever guy, and not even seeing that, gosh, those two things could even be connected. Yeah. So if you go to someone to work on one part of your body, you just expect that they're going to work on that part of the body. And if you have something else, then they're going to either refer you out to a specialist. They're not going to even see that two separate parts of the body could be affecting each other, not even a part of the body and the mind affecting each other, which is really what you do.
And actually, I wanted to chat about this because I love this so much, and it's not where I plan to talk about it, but let's go ahead and talk about it anyway, because I think it really shows the connection, although this is a little bit different. But just recently, Jenn and I were having a session, and she was mentioning that her mouth was quite tense around the jaw area. And so we decided to do some work on that, just some relaxation and some movement through the jaw. And then the next week, she had told me what that had released, which is a completely separate part of the body. So you want to talk about that?
Yeah. So like I said, I'm a runner, and, I have a desk job, so I sit a lot. And so I tight hip flexors. And, I've actually seen several physical therapists, massage therapists, chiropractors for hip flexors, done lots of my own exercises, stretches, and they're just tight. And sometimes they're looser and sometimes they're not. And I never really thought about why that is. And then Shannon took me through this jaw relaxation exercise. And the next day when I woke up, my hip flexors were open. They were loose. They weren't tight. And they felt like they were going, like they'd finally been released. And I was like, gosh, that is so weird. The only thing I did differently was do that jaw exercise, which, physically, I suppose, everything's connected, but in my mind, I'm like, how's the jaw connected to the hip flexors? So that was what, because it was likely my body just kind of trying to stabilize me, and it was trying here in the hips and trying here in the jaw, and through the exercise, it allowed my jaw to relax, and it allowed my hip flexors to follow suit and go, oh, good, we're relaxing now.
And I love that. I just think, and though it's not exactly what we're talking about, it does show that I look at the body as an entire whole, and I cannot only just look at the jaw, or only look at the foot, or only if we do it that way, we will never put the pieces of your puzzle together, right? We have to look at everything, which is so fun for me because I feel like I'm a body detective.
Yeah, I know. I think you always told me that you liked puzzles. And I'm like, oh, good. Well, you're going to like this puzzle.
Which is funny because I love puzzles and games, but I hate jigsaw puzzles with a passion. There's just something about a jigsaw puzzle that I'm just like, that isn't fun to me, but like other kinds of brain puzzles.
Well, especially puzzles of the body, right? Because, I mean, it just seems like people have been doing healing a certain way for so long, and to know like there is a way with no results, and to know that there's a way to eradicate pain, uncover stuff that you didn't know that you have that was leading to pain. I mean, it's really interesting. It's
Yes,
really
and hopefully I'm helping you and all the rest of my clients to realize that you have the ability to heal yourself, and just giving you the tools to show you what you can do with your own body.
yeah. And you know, because we have been together for so many months, at the beginning it was, oh, I got to go see Shannon. I've got, thank goodness I've got my Shannon appointment today because I'm dealing with this. I've got this pain, this weird pain came back, you know, especially I think it was back in May. I was running, doing great, running faster, feeling awesome. I'd been running with my daughter. And then we didn't have a session for a couple weeks and I couldn't run. And then I was like, okay, this is in, not to make it less important, but because it actually is really important, that I'm like, this is in my mind somehow. There is something that I am thinking, doing, believing that is not working towards me being able to do it. And so, well, at the beginning, I was more, I have to have Shannon do this for me. And now I've collected enough tools that I can go, what do I need? What am I thinking? What am I believing about myself? And just by doing just really, it's not even like an intensive thing, just by taking a few seconds and checking in with myself, I can reset everything, whether it's a, you know, fear and insecurity, or, you know, an injury, picking up my husband's knee injury and having that go away. It's really, all the tools I've collected have been amazing.
Oh, yay, that makes me so happy. So let's bring it back. So let's go back kind of in time. So Jenn started with me because you were having running issue or running injuries. And that was originally why you came. And then during that first session, we did the EFT, and you found that that was quite effective for you and helped a lot. So I have your chart, because when someone comes into work with me and we're talking about the assessment, like Jenn said, I do a full body assessment. We're going to look at all of like how your weight is distributed. We're going to look at your posture. I'm going to look at what your feet can and can't do, any movements your body can and can't do. But I'm also going to sit down and we're going to have a chat about your history and the way that your brain works and the way that you feel about life and the way that you think about certain things, because that really helps me to understand your overall picture, and it really helps me to put your puzzle pieces together. And then I go through and I write down what I think are really going to help that particular person, so I have kind of a something to go on. And I was looking at your plan. And, you know, of course, we had, you know, bunion work that we needed to do, and foot and ankle strength, and rolling and stretching to help you unwind. But also, I mean, I put in here that you were a constant breath holder, and that we need to look at this emotionally, because it's how you think and it's how you hold your world together, is by holding your breath. I wrote down that we needed to release the stress and tension in both body and mind, because you were holding it all together with tape and string. Those were your words, holding it all together with tape and string. I wanted to help you find love and gratitude in your body, for your body, because I felt like that was really lacking. And one of the things that you said was that you felt like you were 100 years old. And that really struck me as we needed to just kind of go in and bring youth back and vibrancy back into that body, because it was how you were moving through the world. It was how you were trying to run. But up here, you said it and you felt it, that you were 100 years old. And so I just want to like give kind of an impression of how I'm working with people. It's not just looking at the feet, but it's also looking at all those emotional components, because we hold all those stresses and traumas inside of our body, and then we try and move.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because in that first session, like I was saying, no one had ever taken such an immersive approach by kind of getting into the way I was feeling with, I did have a bunion and still am working through it, but that would cause my leg to go in. So she's doing all these movements to go, oh, that's simulating what I feel like. But also, to your point, asking me not just about my health history, not just about injuries or accidents, but tell me about big things that are going on in your life. Tell me about small things, or tell me about your, upbringing and this and that, just sort of get clues of what I'm hanging on to, and potentially what's holding me back. And even in that, I was like, gosh, I don't think I've had anyone ever ask me those things. But I did have a period of time, a pretty lengthy period of time, probably 5-6 years, where I was a single mom at the time, working 70 or 80 hours a week, and really just kind of barely keeping things together. And for lengthy period of time. And even after that time ended and I had more support and I had more of a balanced life, my body held on to all that stress and all that, gotta keep together, and that feeling just carried with me. And so my body operated like I was still in that state.
Yes, absolutely. So we took it upon ourselves to release over and over each week all of those. We would take each piece. Is there a particular session that you're like, that really stands out, that you were like, that made such an impact, like, that shifted everything? Or
lots of them. So the first one I was thinking about when you're talking about the breathing is I didn't even realize that I was holding my breath. And we were doing an exercise in your studio on the ground, and you said, okay, I want you to breathe into your belly or breathe into your whole body. And I was sort of breathing into one small section of my belly. And you're like, okay. You're like, can you have the breath go into your whole body? And I'm like, yep, I'm doing it. And you're like, okay, you're not doing it. And I can't remember what you said. I think we did a visualization exercise this is the part, and I'm sure you're going to elaborate on it, where you use visualization to see what's going on in your body, and see if there are blocks, and see if there are certain colors or certain feelings. And in that particular situation, I remember that I had a wall, like in between, the top part of my belly and the rest of my body. And it was me compartmentalizing all the things in my life. Like, this is over here, this is over here. So I was breathing into this one small area, and through just a few exercises in one session, probably within 20 minutes, we got rid of the wall that prevented me from having full breath in my body.
I had forgotten that, but I love being reminded of that. I have chills. That was really a phenomenal session. And I remember after that, you were breathing like a champ.
Yeah. And that's all I needed. That was just one. Everyone kind of breathes shallow here and there when you're stressed or deadline or anxious or whatever. But in general, even when I wasn't stressed, which I probably was stressed all the time, even when I didn't feel like I was still having these really shallow, breaths, which are just in a small area of my body. And now I can feel when I breathe and it goes into my rib cage and, through my whole body. I can do it now because I don't have those same compartments that I had made. And I know, looking back at my past, I know why I made them. I had to make them. At least that's what I felt. But you helped break them down, because my coping mechanisms that I used to get through a tough time in my life had become physical barriers.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's such a good one to share. Thank you. Let's see. Oh, So there's almost always homework attached to what we do. And for a lot of people, that's I think that they come in and they're like, I just want you to fix me. Just fix me. And then I want to go home and I want to be fixed and I don't want to do anything else afterwards. But in my studio, you're pretty much always going to go home with homework. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. I don't mind homework because I know that, even if I've gone to a PT, a lot of times physical therapists give homework because if I want to get better, I need to work on myself. And it doesn't mean forever and ever because eventually those things become automatic. But even things like, I know when we were working on my bunion, my exercise was, or my homework was to take a rubber band and kind of practice working on toe strength. And I'm like, oh, that's easy. That's something I can do while I'm, brushing my teeth. I keep it by the sink. I can definitely fit it in. It's not like something I've got to do an hour a day or even 15 minutes a day. So some of the physical stuff was fairly easy to do and made a big difference. And then even some of the other stuff, even the more of the emotional things, the mental, emotional, spiritual side, would be like we would create a mantra or an affirmation in our session. And you would send it to me and you're like, put it on your phone, put it on the wall, put it where you see it a couple times a day, say it a few times a day. And that would be the homework. So then it becomes less like, okay, spend 4 hours writing down your thoughts and doing these 2,000 exercises. It becomes something where I look at my phone and it's automatic. I go, oh yeah, there's my affirmation. Remember to breathe or whatever it is. And it's actually easy. And if you integrate it into your day, it's easy. And then you benefit because you're getting better faster.
It really helps. Those little bits of homework, I don't send them out for no reason. They're very specific and they're short and easy to do, but they make a huge difference in the overall healing, I believe.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Do you have a favorite session or a favorite change?
Yes. The first thing that comes to mind is we had a session at your studio. This was right before COVID hit, where I hadn't been able to run. I could run and then I couldn't, and I really couldn't get over the hump of having some good run days and some bad run days. And we did an exercise in your studio where I was running around your studio. And you'll have to help me fill in the gaps because I can't remember exactly what we did. But we went through my whole body as I was running, and we looked at the different areas. So if I said, yeah, my hips feel kind of stuck, we said, okay, keep running. Tell me what you see. And then I would just describe what I see inside. And usually there'd be some kind of, color or texture or something that felt off, felt restrictive. And I think we used tapping.
We did.
To release that feeling. And what I liked about it is we did it while I was in motion. And so it felt like it helped put that pattern together faster, going, see, I'm doing it and I'm feeling this way. And now it's gone and I'm running and I go, oh my gosh, I don't have that feeling anymore. So we worked through the body, through the hips, the legs, the toes, the feet. And after that session, I went out on the trail by your house and I ran 3 miles without stopping, pain-free, which was the first time I had done that in a while. And so that was the neatest thing to go, wow, we're really simulating and eliminating these obstacles while I'm running.
And that one was really fun for me because often when I'm with a client, I just get these little jolts of knowing. I guess for lack of a better word, I suddenly know what I'm supposed to do.
And of course, it was what we did in the studio. And then the mindset that you left me with, and I think you said something like, picture you're having your best run ever. Picture times that you've run on the trail where you are feeling so good. And because I run on the Snoqualmie Valley Trail a lot and I've done a lot of races, I have had that feeling like, oh, the finish line is right there, or I'm in the middle of a great training run and feeling great. So I thought about those memories while I was running, and it reinforced my joy around running, which of course I love running. I don't love it so much when I don't feel great, but it started to override those feelings of having a run where everything hurt. So that really turned things around.
And now you're running much longer.
Yep.
I have when I was looking through, I saw 7 and 8 miles, and I don't know where you're at right now. But.
Yeah, and I'm not really adding more miles now because there are no races and I'm not training for anything. I'm just, but I have been a runner for over 30 years and I just love it. So I like doing it for fun, even if there aren't races. But like I said, I like doing it when it feels good. So it bums me, and it's my stress relief. It's, I like to go with my husband and my daughter. But when it doesn't feel good, it's not fun and it's not a stress reliever. So, that 7, 8 miles is about all I'm doing now. I could do more if I wanted to, but that is what I'm happy doing right now. So I'm just happy to go out even for a 3-mile run where everything feels great. And I still, every once in a while do get a thought of, what if this doesn't work? What if my ankles feel crunchy or my, hips don't feel great? But I have the tools now that I can. One of my favorite exercises is the body scan, where I go through my body and see if it sounds weird, but see if anybody needs anything. See if anybody needs anything. And even through doing a body scan, I learned that when I'm running, I subconsciously brace my back. So I brace it to make sure I'm sturdy. And when I was doing the body scan while I was running, I realized that I was doing that because I stopped doing it. Doing the body scan, and when I got to my hips, I realized I didn't need to brace myself. And so instead of, finishing a run and feeling really stiff, I was like, oh, I'm bracing that area. I can let that go. And that's just by doing a body scan, seeing what my different body parts need.
Okay. So one of the other things that was very surprising when Jenn and I were working together is something that we discovered purely by accident. As we were releasing some of these old issues that she'd had, something interesting happened. So I'll let Jenn share it.
Yeah, I have lots of food allergies and I don't eat those allergens, but even still, I was reacting to food and having things like, I eat something and have brain fog, or I would have really itchy eyes, and I'm like, oh, I ate that again. I didn't know what it was. It was something random like an apple. Like, why can't I eat an apple? And Shanyn was able to eliminate the symptoms of the reaction I was having to the food. And little by little, and it kind of happened, some of it happened immediately and some of it happened over time. But, if we saw each other every week or every other week, for sure, by the next time we saw each other, that symptom was gone. And now I don't have those symptoms, which is such a blessing, because it's one thing to go, all right, so, I'm allergic to dairy and I'm allergic to eggs, so I don't eat those foods. But I was having random food reactions to other foods. So I got to a point where I was sort of nervous to eat anything during the day if I had work and have my thoughts with me and everything. And we were able to tap away any anxiety and fear and worry I had around having a reaction.
And that's really what we were doing, because it wasn't as though either of us thought, well, we could get rid of this issue. We were just trying to relieve the anxiety and the worry that it was causing. And then when we could get that released, what we found is that you were just having less and less and less of those same issues.
Yeah. So it wasn't the food that was causing the reaction. It was the emotion that was causing, it was the emotional response that was causing a physical reaction.
Which is constant. We are constantly receiving all of this information, all this worry and all this stress and all this, and somehow it's going to come out into our bodies, whether that's in a pain or a food thing or vertigo or anything. I mean, a rash, a skin rash, it could be literally anything.
Yeah. And it's neat. And now that I know that's a thing, because I think when I first worked with you, going, oh, I came to Shannon because I'm having running issues, and she's gonna help me work on my feet. And to go from that I go, like I think it was last week, or I said, hey, I've got this random knee injury or knee pain, and I never have knee pain. I've got other things that come and go, but knee has never been one of them. But I said, it's funny, is my husband's been struggling with some knee pain over the past week or two. And I bet it's some kind of, having sympathy pains for him. And now I know that not to ask, is that a thing? Now I know it is a thing. And what can we do about it? And you said, oh yeah, we can get rid of that. And we tapped on it. And what was neat is while we were tapping, I could feel the pain just dissipate, just went away. And I think right after the session, I had a little bit of lingering pain, but then by a couple days later, completely gone, and now still completely gone. And so, obviously I don't know exactly why, it's obviously, especially if you pick up on other people's emotions, it's easy to, feel them. But because he was struggling, my body decided that it needed to have it too. And I was like, oh, that one's not mine. That one does not belong to me. So, Shannon helped me go, that pain doesn't belong to me, and I can let it go.
And it's so common, really. More people just don't realize it. And a lot of the women that I work for, or that I work with, that come to me, that find me, are dealing with, they're just very sensitive individuals. And so they, like myself, I'm very sensitive to everything around me, and the pain around, and the stress of others and in a room. And you were literally picking up your husband's pain because you wanted to heal him. You wanted him to feel better. He's also a runner. It really hurts you when that he is in pain and can't run. So I think that it was just your body's way of saying, oh, let me help. I'm just going to take this pain into myself so he has less pain.
Yeah.
And it's just so common. And I just think we don't talk about it in our culture enough. It seems very woo woo. And what I do is very woo woo to a lot of people. I am not for everyone, for sure. You have to have a very open mind in order to work with me, because I may say something very crazy.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that I love about working with you, is that I have been down the traditional doctor, PT, everything route, and it was valuable, and physicians and physical therapists and chiropractors are extremely valuable, but I wasn't getting the answers that I needed. And so, just being curious by nature and open-minded, I'm like, I think I like this. And even, to your point about being a little woo-woo, I am selective about now I share pretty much everything about what we talk about in our sessions with my husband, but he's not quite as there as I am. At the beginning, I'm like, if I come out and I go, hey, I saw this red light and we made it pink and put a gold glow on it, he's going to go, what are you talking about? So I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's just for me for now, but it works. And it only needs to work for me. And so just like it's worked for lots and lots of other people. So the idea of connecting the mind and the body, but there's so much that we hold on to just from going through life and getting through life and coping and childhood and our beliefs and our stories that they really do manifest as different physical things. And even if they don't manifest as physical things, being able to sort of unravel the things that aren't ideal, whether it's, your beliefs about yourself or, kind of things that hold you back, if you can get rid of them or work through them in a way that kind of tapping does, why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? That is a great question. Why wouldn't you? Why would you want to live to your fullest? Mm-hmm. We all do. We all should want to live to our fullest. So why would we not take these tools and run with them?
Yeah. And what's interesting is, even though, I came to you for my running injuries, and then I was like, okay, well, now that we got that under control, I kind of have this, and it kind of, I'm worried, I'm curious about this. And the way I feel it, granted, you are not a therapist, but I know that any issue that I have that comes up, any struggle that I have, I can go to you and you can help me work through it, because it's the mind, right? It's not that you're leading me down a course of therapy. It's the way that our mind perceives things, and it's supposed to be this way, or it should be this way. And so, having a resource that, if you have a fear around doing something, you can release that fear, because it's emotions. It's the mind.
Yeah. And I do want to say that I'm not a therapist. So anybody watching, if it's beyond my scope, I will definitely refer you out to somebody. However, there is so much that we can do that's just, it's living there in the body, and we don't even have to go into the issue of it. We can literally just remove it from the body without going into that issue like a therapist would. So it's kind of like we take a jump, we jump over it, and we just clear it, and it's just gone. It's like this magical thing, for lack of a better word. Mm-hmm. Well, anything else? I guess I would be curious how does the Jenn that came to me in the beginning and the Jenn that I know now, there's a pretty big difference. Do you feel that inside you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do, especially when you read back to me some of the things that were in my chart from the beginning, because I was at a place where I was just kind of surviving, still living off that kind of the stress of where I'd been. And now I kind of feel like myself again, and I kind of feel like I'm moving into a new stage of what I'm capable of, stuff that, we always talk about, we're peeling back the layers. Like, okay, you get the layers that's in your face. Like, I've got this pressing issue, I've got this injury. And then we go, okay, what else would you like to work on? And I'm inherently kind of an introvert. And I'm like, okay, I would like to be more comfortable, for instance, doing more things like this, being able to talk on video. And how do we go about doing that? And that is like, okay, yeah, let's do it. And so being able to tap into the things that I want, but for one reason or another have a fear or something holding me back, it's been really nice to be able to pursue those things and become the person that I want to be, rather than the person that I think I'm supposed to be, or the person I have always been, which they're all those traits and qualities are in there, but because of life experiences or your upbringing or whatever, you feel like, well, I'm, who am I to do that? Or I'm this person, or this is my career. So what business do I have doing this other career? And so the ways we hold ourselves back, you know, isn't necessarily therapy. It's just peeling back the layers so that you can be the person you want to be and do the things you want to do.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so interesting how we go about doing that in our daily lives. And I'm going to bring up one session that we had that I was suddenly reminded when you were saying that, because it was a really fun, you were like, I have this, like, when I'm playing games and my Frisbee goes off to the side, like every time it just like, it goes off to the side and I play games with my kids and we play this other game, cornhole, right? We play cornhole and it just never goes. And within that one session, we were able to just clear this mindset that it always is going to go off to the side, or it's never going to hit inside that hole.
Yeah. It's interesting because, you know, it's not a big deal if I can't play Frisbee or I can't play cornhole, but it's something that I'm like, gosh, why do I always do that? I go to play Frisbee and then my wrist short circuits and it goes over there, or I throw a cornhole beanbag, which we've been doing every single night, and I always miss. And I was like, you know what? That bugs me because I know I can do better and I don't know why I'm not. And so we worked through what was keeping me from hitting the target and visualize. I remember we did it. We went back and forth between visualizing a perfect throw and visualizing the throw I was currently doing. And I mean, we couldn't have spent more than 10 minutes on that part of the session. And honestly, I haven't played Frisbee, but we still play cornhole every night. And I make almost every toss, almost every single toss. And sometimes it comes with a, you know, my own personal mantra, like made it, made it, made it. But regardless, I'm still making it. And before I would freeze at the last minute, or I would hesitate at the last minute. And, you know, for whatever reason that I felt like I shouldn't be making that the basket or whatever. And so that was a really neat exercise. Again, in the general scheme of life and overcoming injuries and trauma and all that, not a huge deal, but such an extra cool thing that I, you know, was able to, and that could be helpful for someone doing sports too. So say you play sports or even in running and you constantly miss the mark and you don't know why, something like that, you know, subconsciously you could be interfering with your own success.
That's exactly right. And that's exactly when we cleared that was what I was thinking too, was I'm just so appreciative of you being willing to share your thoughts.
Oh, sure. No problem. Yeah, I have loved working with you. And like you said, it's been a big transition because, you know, what I knew from starting to work with you is that you did body work, Zumba teacher, bar teacher, body work, and sort of the best kept Shanyn secret is that it's actually all this mind body work. So I'm excited for you to be able to share more of that message with people.
Thank you so much for all of this and for sharing it and for being willing to come out and talk about it and the work that we did together.